Good afternoon, everyone. In the side of the Nürburgring Castle, allow me to welcome you to the Nürburgring for Race 2 in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, which is about to take to the track in glorious sunshine, which is surprising given that earlier this morning, though perhaps I shouldn't be surprised here in the Eiffel because we had rain this morning, but it's all cleared up and the sun is shining now. We are reaching the final third of the calendar then, as we've been to Bahrain, to Spain, to Austria, to France. Now we're here in Germany with Italy to come, and of course the World Finals Finale Mondiale event to come at Mugello right at the end of October. So here we are then, about an hour from Cologne, maybe a couple of hours from Frankfurt. Welcome to the Nürburgring, this 5.148 kilometre circuit, 3.2 miles, 15 turns, 6 left, 9 right, as we use the GP configuration of the Nürburgring circuit here this weekend for our Ferrari Challenge races. We have just experienced and witnessed a truly superb Ferrari F1 show as part of the Ferrari Racing Days here this weekend. 14 degrees is the air temperature, track temperature considerably higher, and there is the Hublot safety car that will be leading the cars away on their formation lap. So, as I mentioned then, Ferrari Racing Days here at the Nürburgring for this weekend. Here's the postcard of our venue. Truly spectacular scenery and a truly spectacular track. Plenty of fans to enjoy the race action to come this afternoon. Going from P2 on the grid is Björn Grossman, the Octane 126 driver, who gives us the thumbs up there. Didn't have the best of luck in the race yesterday, and Björn Grossman actually finishing P6 in the end. As we take a look inside the Hublot safety car then, which is being driven this weekend by Eric Prenot, a former multi-Ferrari Challenge champion. Björn Grossman going from P2, Louis Pret going from pole position. We'll give you more information about that in due course. But of course, Ferrari Racing Days features not only F1 Clienti, and there is our pole sitter Louis Pret, but also the FXX programs as well. All part of the Ferrari Racing Days program, the XX programs and the F1 Clienti here as well. And not only that, we had out on track doing the Formula 1 show just a short while ago, Pascal Wehrlein and Andrea Bertolini then in F1 cars putting on a fantastic show. This is Lennart Marinek making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. I had a conversation with him at lunch and was trying desperately to persuade him to make further visits to the Ferrari Challenge. And our fingers are crossed. Lennart Marinek then, with experience in GT3 and GT4 racing, making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. So great shot then of the grid as it unfolds there below us. for this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race. Two categories of drivers. We have the pro drivers and we have the AM drivers. Now, I mentioned earlier that we would make most of Louis Pret, who's going from pole position. To give you some explanation behind why it's so important, because pole positions are no stranger to Louis Pret, but given the sort of weekend he has had, he deserves a big mention, because he had an off in quali yesterday, completely wrote the car off, got into a spare car, raced despite having a very, very painful back, finished, and he is going from pole position today, having done a superb qualifying. Adam Carroll looked really, really good yesterday, and then picked up a drive-through penalty for not jumping the start, but being out of position at the start, and that really compromised his race. And Jack Brown goes from pole position for Trofeo Pirelli AM for Grey Paul Nottingham. Alongside him is Christian Overgaard, the Forza Racing driver with Baron Motorsport. And incidentally, Frederik Aspersen, teammate to Christian Overgaard with Forza Racing and Baron Motorsport, is missing this weekend. I'm given to understand that he's actually at some music festival in the forests of Denmark. Presumably he's a rock star as well as a racing driver, because he'll be on the stage there, I am sure, not just attending, surely. So the starting grid then for race number 2 features Louis Pret, pole position, Björn Grossman alongside, Adam Carroll and Lennart Marianek on the next row. Then it's Jack Brown, Christian Overgaard and Oliver Plasman, 3 AM drivers together, ahead of Sam Smith, Thomas Neubauer, Nicolo Schiro, Emanuela Maria Tabacchi, John Dillon, Frank Rumi, Walter Ben Dorenberg, Martin Nelson and Mathius Weibo, completing the 16 cars that are lining up for this race. There is the car of Oliver Plasman, qualified P3 in terms of the AM drivers. And that's where he is on the grid. Actually starting P7 overall, because we have the mix of pro and AM drivers together in the race. And there you can see the back end of the Scuderia Autoropa driver Martin Nelson. And he is really out of position in terms of qualifying. Expect him to be further up the order ordinarily than that. Of course, take into consideration that all the Ferrari Challenge drivers pick up success penalties dependent upon their race results from their previous race. And Martin Nelson then is one of the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. And finished P2 yesterday, therefore he picks up a grid drop for this race. There is John Dillon from Grey Paul Nottingham. And John Dillon with work to do from P12 on the grid, but in fairness to him, he's P5 in terms of his class, Trofeo Pirelli AM, so good luck to John Dillon and to the rest of the drivers that are out there on track, all lined up behind that Hublot safety car. We are just a few moments away from the formation lap getting underway and the race starting. 30 minutes of hot rod race action to come from the Ferrari Challenge here in the sunshine of Nürburgring. So the front row occupied by Louis Pret and Björn Grossman, with Adam Carroll and Lennart Marianek right behind. Best of the AM drivers, Jack Brown and Christian Overgaard, with Oliver Plasman about to chase them as well. Trofeo Pirelli race 2 then about to start, and Hublot safety car ready to lead the cars away on their formation lap. Always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge. They'll, as you can see, Mr. Christian Berchinger, who's team chief of Octane 126, will be hoping for better luck from his driver Björn Grossman in this race. He's going from P2 on the grid. It's a nice smile, Christian. And you certainly wouldn't bet against Björn Grossman, a truly talented driver on Octane 126, certainly know how to engineer a car. I see. Bit of a advertising moment there for Tinkalucci. So Formula Racing pole position, Octane 126 P2, Ferrari Budapest P3, Go Motorsport P4 on the grid, ahead of Grey Paul Nottingham, Forza Racing and Outer House Ulrich. to give all the teams their credit for the first few places on the grid as the cars are released now on their formation lap for race number 2.
Hey guys, it's Matej Viboch. We are here at Nürburgring, the Ferrari racing days. I believe everyone enjoys it. It has a real atmosphere. I would like to thanks to my team for this weekend because they make it very memorable for me, and I hope everyone will have a good race. Thank you.
Good to hear from Matej Viboch then for Scuderia Prague. And the cars then away on their formation lap, and you can see they're making their way into turn number 3 right now. Come back on themselves from turn number 3 and into turn number 4, which is the right-hander. Then a sort of a blast of throttle, really. It's the first straight opportunity the cars get from the start-finish line as they head up towards turn number 5. All the social media where you can be part of the Ferrari Challenge is at the top of the screen now. We urge you to become part of the family and be part of the Ferrari Challenge. All the social media at the top of the screen for you right now. So the car's looking and sounding good as we go on board with the Hublot safety car. Looking back at the grid, and what happens is the cars will line up side by side into grid formation. And on board with John Dillon, then hard at work inside the car. Cars will line up side by side, as I mentioned, in grid formation. The safety car will peel off at the exit of turn number 14, which is the chicane. And then it will be the responsibility of Louis Pret and Björn Grossman to run the pace of the formation lap, but we're way away from getting there yet because we still have to navigate our way through quite a few corners here at the Nürburgring before we get to that chicane. Oliver Plasman there, as you can see, and there is the all-yellow car of Sam Smith. Then it is Thomas Neubauer in the number 6 car for Charles Pozzi Racing. And cars weaving from side to side, including Jack Brown there, basically trying to generate some temperature into these Pirelli tyres ahead of the start of the race. And really vigorous weaving, as you can see, from the likes of Sam Smith and many others as well. Oliver Plasman then in the number 9 car is the 3rd fastest in qualifying with regards to grid positions for this, the second race. Cars making their way down the back straight now behind the paddock. There is a kink in the back straight, which is turn number 12. It's taken absolutely flat, and expect plenty of that in the race as the tension and anticipation and excitement builds for race number 2. We throw the lights to the top of the screen as we go green. A great start from Louis Pret. Björn Grossman caught napping just a little bit. Louis Pret with almost a full car length ahead of Björn Grossman before they get into turn number 1. Jack Brown trying to make a move, and Sam Smith also. Keep an eye on Adam Carroll as well, as Lennart Marinek is in there in the first of those white cars, but he runs wide. That allows Adam Carroll to go through, and all the cars make their way through turn number 1 with no problems at all. Brilliant racing in the first couple of corners in the Ferrari Challenge. So the number 51 car that you can see there, Walter Ben Dorenberg, another one of the yellow cars. That livery looking great on the 488 Challenge car. So first lap, Louis Pret then is leading the way from Björn Grossman, then is Adam Carroll, and then Lennart Marinek in the first of the pair of white cars. The second of them is Adam Carroll. It's Lennart Marinek. It's Adam Carroll ahead of Lennart Marinek. Adam is the first of the white cars. Lennart Marinek is the second of the white cars, but he is being chased already. So Louis Pret then, P1, Björn Grossman P2, Adam Carroll P3, then it's Lennart Marinek, and Sam Smith with a blistering start. He finds himself in P5, just ahead of Christian Overgaard, who's the best of the AM drivers at the moment for Forza Racing. Martin Nelson having already passed a number of cars as well, but Louis Pret then, who was absolutely lightning quick as Jack Brown puts himself on the inside of Oliver Plasman, just not quite able to make the move stick. So Jack Brown and Oliver Plasman having a real ding-dong battle as well. And that's all going and being fought over for P11 at the moment. So for the first time of asking, the cars head behind the paddock then, and this very, very long straight before the hard braking into this chicane, which is where we find the cars now. And there, Oliver Plasman with Christian Overgaard, and Oliver Plasman managing to get past the Christian Overgaard car number 45. So Oliver Plasman on something of a mission. And first lap is put into the book then, and it is Louis Pret from Björn Grossman, Adam Carroll, Lennart Marinek, Sam Smith, Nicolo Schiro, Christian Overgaard, Jack Brown, Thomas Neubauer, and then it's Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Oliver Plasman is P11 with Martin Nelson, Mathieu Weibo, John Dillon, Frank Rumi and Walter Ben Dorenberg, bringing up the rear of the pack at the moment. So there is the number 51 car of Walter Ben Dorenberg for Ferrari Eberlein, and here is our race leader who's really stretching his legs. About a second's margin over the P2 driver, which is Björn Grossman currently. So Björn Grossman in P2, Adam Carroll P3, then that's Lennart Marinek, who's being breathed on now by Sam Smith, who's really breathing down his neck. There is the number 6 car, which of course is driven by Thomas Neubauer. And then it's Christian Overgaard and the number 33 car of Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. And Tabacchi is looking lively here on the back of Christian Overgaard. Now, this is a class race because Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and Christian Overgaard are both in the same class of Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Jack Brown is leading the AM class at the moment. There is the Jack Brown car, car number 90. So for Great Paul Nottingham, doing a great job in leading the AM class. He's P7 overall, but P1 within his classification, which of course is the most important. Both Björn Grossman and Louis Pret are really beginning to break away from Adam Carroll and the rest of the cars. There is Björn Grossman, there's Adam Carroll, then it's Lennart Marinek, then Sam Smith, and then the number 3 car. Which is driven, of course, by Nicolo Schiro, who was victorious yesterday. I spoke to him on the podium after the race, and Nicolo Schiro really enjoying his racing in the Ferrari Challenge, no question about that. So the cars scream past our commentary position here on the start-finish straight at the Nürburgring circuit, with the first 5 minutes of the race already seemingly done and dusted. But a lot of action still to come between now and the end of the race. So Sam Smith then, what can he do to try and get on terms with Lennart Marinek? What of course he's going to be aware of is the fact that he's being chased down by Nicolo Schiro as well. So the Baron Motorsport driver Sam Smith, who was buoyed with confidence, and when I spoke to him just before the race, was very much looking forward to it. British driver who has been simply superb in the Ferrari Challenge, and great to have him on track. So Sam Smith trying to track down that number 85 car of Lennart Marinek from Go Motorsport, but at the same time protect himself from the Rosso Corsa racer Nicolo Schiro, who's right behind him. Jack Brown is leading the Trofeo Pirelli AM ahead of Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, who's got past Christian Overgaard, who's now relegated to P3. This is our race leader overall, though, Louis Pret. What an up-and-down weekend he has had. Had a huge off in Quali 1 yesterday into a spare car. This particular car that he's driving is not his own car. And he was taken away to the medical centre just to be checked over, but reinforcing the integral safety of these 488 Challenge cars. Whilst he's bruised and battered, nothing broken, and he was past fit enough to race. He did race, and right from the back of the grid, worked really, really hard to finish very creditably in P5, but when it came to qualifying this morning, he was simply superb and put the car on pole position. Of course, finishing where he did yesterday, P5, meant that he didn't suffer any success penalty, and therefore his pole position was guaranteed, and now he's leading the race by some 2.272 seconds. This battle for P3 between Adam Carroll and Lennart Marinek and Sam Smith and Nicolo Schiro. And there is the Nicolo Schiro car, car number 3, which is currently running in that P6. We've got 6 of the Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers before we see the first of the AMs, which is Jack Brown, and Jack Brown being followed by Thomas Neubauer, who is the 7th of the Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers, running in P8 overall, but P7 in class. Sam Smith edging closer now to the Lennart Marionette car, and Nicola Shiro at the moment is not able to seemingly take the race to him. Out on his own a little bit as well, and taking just a bit of dirt off the curbs. There is Adam Carroll, and you can see that Björn Grossman and Louis Pret are escaping up the road, and therefore these are not into contention. All of a sudden Sam Smith has to think about defending rather than attacking, because now Nicola Shiro is right on the back of Sam Smith. This the battle for P5 then between Sam Smith and Nicola Shiro. Both very, very good drivers indeed. So Nicola Shiro trying to just get Sam Smith to lose concentration for a moment. Has it worked? Well, there's not room for two cars going through there, which was turn number 7. So for the moment, Sam Smith remains ahead of Nicola Shiro, but Shiro has found the pace from somewhere and has just been able to get right onto the back of Sam Smith, which is playing into the hands of Lennart Marionette and Adam Carroll, who were able to escape up the road. So Nicola Shiro continuing his quest to overcome the number 92 car of Baron Motorsport, and you can see how close they are. This battle for P5 in Trofeo Pirelli Pro Honours between Sam Smith and Nicola Shiro. The live gap, it's going to be negligible between the two of them. Just 3/100ths, as you can see, was the difference between them in terms of lap time when they crossed that sector line. And it's off the back of the chicane where you begin to set a move up going into turn number 1. Is that what Nicola Shiro is doing? He'll try to get underneath now the Sam Smith car to give him the inside line going into turn number 1. Sam Smith squeezes him. They are absolutely side by side. Shiro has got the pace advantage. He's already got a couple of centimetres ahead, but now it becomes a whole car length. Can he hold on to the speed? No. Sam Smith will come back at him now. And that's often where things go wrong in turn number 1. Shiro is trying to come back now and has got Thomas Neubauer joining into this three-way party now. So a three-way fight for P5, which is intensifying because Jack Brown's going to come and join in too. And Jack Brown, of course, is in the AM class. So it's Smith from Nicola Shiro and Thomas Neubauer. Thomas Neubauer, as you can see, flashing his lights, trying to get the car of Nicola Shiro and just trying to distract Nicola Shiro. Nicola again just taking a look, going around that turn as to whether he can get underneath the Sam Smith car. Sam's defense has been perfectly fair and reasonable. And for Sam, what he needs is for Thomas Neubauer to really get onto the back of Nicola Shiro as they make their way around to turn number 7 now. Because the more Nicola Shiro is having to think about defending from Thomas Neubauer, that just means Sam Smith will be able to escape up the road. But it kind of doesn't look like Nicola is too concerned about defending at the moment. It's still attack is his mode. And Thomas Neubauer, of course, is metaphorically rubbing his hands with invisible soap, wanting them to fight as hard as possible as Emanuele Maria Tabacchi now. This is disadvantageous for Jack Brown because it's the battle for P1 in the AM class. There's a small mistake there from Nicola Shiro, carrying just a little bit too much speed. He picked up the gravel, but he hasn't lost too much momentum. So as they head into the chicane then, a really, really difficult place to overtake. But on the exit of the chicane, if you get the exit lined up perfectly, then that's when you start to make a move for turn number 1, which is exactly what Nicola Shiro did last time around. Presumably Sam Smith is going to be wise to it now, and Nicola is nowhere near as close this time around. Jack Brown, in the meantime, tries to defend that inside line from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. And they all brake hard into this downhill turn number 1, which is almost a hairpin where you come back on yourself. And Thomas Neubauer is perhaps looking the most lively of these three at the moment. What a fantastic fight that's going on in this Ferrari 488 Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race. Jack Brown under pressure from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then, and he just puts himself to the inside, but that quickly becomes the outside for the next turn. So for the moment, Jack Brown is absolutely fine, but Sam Smith once again is coming under pressure. Here comes Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. We can see at the back of the picture, taking the outside line, ready to go underneath Jack Brown if at all possible. Whichever way you look across these 5 cars, it's game on. Now, Nicola Shiro once again defending now from the car of Thomas Neubauer, which allows Sam Smith just to breathe for a moment. They climb uphill now towards the turns 10 and 11. turn into the Vorsteiner curve area, which is where they will head right now, which is the next turn before running down to the back straight, which runs behind the paddock here. As Emanuele Maria Tabacchi once again takes a look at Jack Brown. Christian Overgaard in the number 45 car runs in P3 in Trofeo Pirelli Am currently. And they're all onto the back straight down behind the paddock now. The fastest part of the circuit before they brake really hard to go into the chicane. This is where Emanuele Maria Tabacchi will take a look at the inside. No, he takes a look at the outside. Jack Brown has got it all covered, or has he? Emanuele Maria Tabacchi on the outside now. He'll be squeezed a little. And indeed, Jack just squeezed him out, and perfectly fair to be able to do that. And he's really making Emanuele work hard here. And that, of course, broke Emanuele Maria Tabacchi's momentum. And coming down to turn number 1 now, Nicolo Schiro under braking. Sam Smith too. Here comes Tabacchi then. He'll have to go to the outside and then try and get underneath the number 90 car. Jack Brown out, brakes himself. And that's exactly what Tabacchi wanted to happen. And so he goes through to pick up the lead in the Trofeo Pirelli Am class. Good driving there from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, who kind of just worried Jack Brown enough so that Jack made a mistake going into that turn, carried a little bit too much speed, and Tabacchi didn't need the invitation twice. He's gone through to pick up the lead in Trofeo Pirelli Am. This battle for P5, though, in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro honours, continues unabated. And once again, Nicolo Schiro has gone into attack mode on Sam Smith. And Sam Smith currently doing a very, very good job, and the lap times between them are almost identical. All lapping in the 2:03s. And Thomas Neubauer still flashing his lights, hoping to just provoke a moment's concentration loss from the Nicolo Schiro car ahead of him, but thus far that strategy hasn't worked. A number of cars being warned about track limits at turn number 4, and they include Björn Grossman and Thomas Neubauer and Christian and Adam Carroll as well, for that matter. So Smith now is going to have to think about defending once again, because Nicolo Schiro's broken away a little bit from Thomas Neubauer. And now the front end of the car really compresses under braking and through the speed trap. Look at this, 255 kilometers per hour for Nicolo Schiro, the Rosso Corsa racer. Into the final turn, and the first half of the race has done already. Extraordinary, all bar 30 seconds. And Nicolo Schiro this time around, I would suggest, is not close enough. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi in the cars behind, or in the car behind, is now having to defend from Jack Brown a little bit, but he has opened up a couple of car lengths over Jack Brown. Then we see Christian Overgaard. Christian Overgaard being chased now by Martin Nelson, who's up to P4 in the Trofeo Pirelli Am classification. Then it is Matthews Vibo and John Dillon that we can see. Centre picture now, the number 61 car of John Dillon, running P6 in class. Chat with John at lunchtime today, and John's racecraft really has come on leaps and bounds, although we've not seen the best of it across Le Mans and also here at the Nürburgring, but John doing a good job. Car number 92 is being warned about exceeding track limits at turn number 4. That, of course, is Sam Smith, but we're on board with John Dillon as he wipes just a little bit of perspiration away from his eyes, as he focuses and concentrates really hard inside this 488 Challenge car, racing here at the 5.148 kilometer Nürburgring circuit. Just the sound of these cars is magnificent. Braking, using the paddle shift to change the gears. And all of a sudden now, Sam Smith is being really worried by Nicolo Schiro, who looks to the inside. There was almost contact between the two of them. Nicolo Schiro really meaning business here, and Thomas Neubauer buying back into this battle as well. And Thomas Neubauer, if he can get the, if he can stick with the outside line here through this kink, which is turn number 12, but he can't. He hasn't got the momentum, but now he dives to the outside of Nicolo Schiro. Schiro squeezes and makes sure that the gap that Thomas Neubauer wants to go through is not there anymore. So this three-way fight that's going on is fantastic. So there is Thomas Neubauer In the meantime, Sam Smith is having to defend from both of them. He makes sure the inside line is his. Look, almost hugging the wall on the pit lane. Shiro will now try and get underneath. A huge way back. Thomas Neubauer comes. If Thomas Neubauer can make this work, Nicolas Shiro, it became almost a three-way sandwich. They're side by side fighting here. Sam Smith has got two left-handers, and that should be advantage Smith. It's a long way around the outside, but if Nicolas Shiro can hold on here, he will have the inside line for the next turn, but he doesn't quite manage it. 10 out of 10 for trying. Absolutely fantastic. And here comes Emanuele Maria Tabacchi as well. So on the inside of Sam Smith now, and this is Thomas Neubauer coming around the outside. And Nicolas Shiro in his attack has lost out because Thomas Neubauer has been able to take advantage of Nicolas Shiro trying so hard, leaves himself vulnerable to this man who has now gone through a little bit of panel rubbing between the two of them, but the big beneficiary here, Thomas Neubauer. Now, I said a number of laps ago, Thomas Neubauer here was allowing those two to fight, and if he's going to be able to take advantage of it and go through, that's exactly what he has done. So Nicolas Shiro, having tried so hard, effectively ends up losing 2 places. And Thomas Neubauer ahead of Sam Smith now, and you can see the pace advantage that Thomas has. He's already opened up something like 5 car lengths over Sam Smith. Nicolas Shiro will be furious that happened. Now, what have we got? 11 and a half minutes left, and he's got 8 seconds to make up to try and get onto the back of Lennart Marianek. That is going to be jolly hard work, because the way these have all been fighting has meant that those ahead of them are, of course, able just to concentrate and focus on their own race and get up the road. Here comes Nicolas Shiro, who's not done with this yet. Wants to try and wrestle away that place back from Sam Smith. Sam in the number 92 car. Nicolas Shiro then driving the number 3 machine. And Nicolas Shiro is going to have to be defending from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Now, in terms of class, it makes no difference, really. But, of course, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, what he wants to do is put a car between himself and Jack Brown to prevent Jack Brown coming back at him. So, loads going on here. Louis Pret is leading by 3.7 seconds in the race overall. But this is where the excitement is. These 4 cars, the second block of 2 cars, if you like, are in the AM class. Here is our race leader, Louis Pret. And forgive us for not paying close attention to Louis Pret, but he's out on his own. Is very nearly 4 seconds up the road, as near as makes no difference. And therefore, providing he concentrates on nailing every apex, he's got it all absolutely sewn up. We've been more interested in the fight that's been going on for the P5 position. So Louis Pret, as you can see, is just 2/100ths away from having a margin of some 4 seconds over Björn Grossman, who in turn is out on his own in P2, some 2.5 seconds ahead of Adam Carroll, who is running in P3. So Louis Pret then, who hasn't got much to worry about at the moment, other than the 9.5 minutes that remain in this race, and just making sure everything stays the same. But his pace is extraordinary, 2:03.5, the fastest man out there. And that, of course, proven by the margin that he has over Björn Grossman and also Adam Carroll. Lennart Marianek doing a very, very good job in P4. There's me saying that Thomas Neubauer is no way in 9 minutes is he going to be able to get onto the back of Lennart Marianek. I'll be amazed if he can. Never say never, I guess. So Sam Smith now. There is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. 6/10 the margin between himself and Jack Brown. That brilliant overtake on Jack Brown just a couple of laps ago put Emanuele Maria Tabacchi into P1 in terms of Trofeo Pirelli AM. And Jack Brown, whose car looks to be sliding around a lot. And here comes Nicolas Shiro again trying to have a go. And this is Martin Nelson in the Scuderia Autoropa car through the NGK chicane on the car of Christian Overgaard. So good overtake from Martin Nelson and good racing room left by Christian Overgaard as well. The Sam Smith car looking a bit loose now as well. Tyre degradation presumably beginning to play a part in terms of the performance of the cars, with merely 8 minutes remaining. Here we can pick up Martin Nelson and Christian Overgaard and Mathieu Weibo, who's their P3, 4 and 5 in the race in terms of Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Louis Pret has extended his lead by another 10th at the front of the pack, and Martin Nelson, now that he's managed to get by Christian Overgaard with a move into the NGK chicane, it's worked perfectly for him, and he is now able to stretch his legs a little bit over the car of Christian Overgaard. So Martin Nelson in that Scuderia Autoropa machine, who is running P3 in Trofeo Pirelli AM. There is Christian Overgaard, and behind them both is the Scuderia Prague driver Mathieu Weibo, as here comes Nicolas Schiro and Sam Smith as this battle continues. Now Nicolas Schiro across the grass, and unfortunately that will have broken the momentum, and you can see just how desperate he's getting behind the Sam Smith car, trying to find a way by. So again, Sam Smith presumably will dive to the inside to protect that inside line going into turn number 1. Almost on cue, he does exactly that. So that forces Schiro to go to the outside, and he will hope that Sam Smith will outbrake him, and he will try and get underneath the Smith car now, but doesn't have enough momentum and enough speed to be able to do so. And Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, another driver that's trying to buy into this, although will make no difference to his result currently, because he is leading his a class, the Trofeo Pirelli AM class, and these two drivers fighting ahead of him are both Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers. But as I said before, he wants the cushion of having one or both of these here between himself and Jack Brown, who is pursuing him still, having been overtaken just a little bit earlier on. Now that, a small error from Sam Smith as he ran wide, and well, you can see Nicolas Schiro having to shortcut the chicane, and Sam Smith was always going to have the momentum advantage because the tractive effort on tarmac is far superior to that on grass. But Schiro's definitely got the pace, but he just cannot find a way past. Interestingly, Thomas Neubauer did. Perhaps Thomas Neubauer was a little bit more aggressive in terms of his passing strategies, but it paid off because Thomas Neubauer has already opened up some 5 seconds distance between himself and Sam Smith in just a couple of laps. So good driving from Thomas Neubauer. So this is a disaster potentially for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, because Jack Brown is now right on the back of him as well. So the cork in the bottle, I'm sorry to say, here is probably Sam Smith, and therefore is frustrating Emanuele Maria Tabacchi as the cars head up towards the chicane once again. Jack Brown is of course keen as mustard to try and retake the lead ahead of the number 33 car in terms of AM honours. He's got the inside line going into this turn now. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi got a little bit more speed, but if Jack Brown now can line him up going into turn number 1, Sam Smith once again defends very hard by running right to the pit wall. Here comes Nicolas Schiro, who's going to have to go around the outside. Jack Brown taking a look also at Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. And it's all as they were. Well, all the build-up there, but actually in the end, the execution around turn number 1 was exactly as it's been on laps previous. Very, very hard to make an overtake at turn number 1 stick, because you're running downhill and you run so wide if you carry too much speed. But Schiro certainly trying to have a go through this more technical section here at the Nürburgring. So Smith picks his car and puts his car right in the middle of the track. Schiro is forced to go to the outside, and whichever way and wherever he puts the car, he is being defended hard by Sam Smith, which is also allowing the door to be open for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. And to be fair to Nicolas Schiro, that's exactly what happened with Thomas Neubauer. As he was attacking ahead, he left the door open and became vulnerable to a bounce from Thomas Neubauer. That's exactly what Thomas did. So they continue through another turn, these 4 cars, with 2 separate battles going on, one in Trofeo Pirelli Pro honours and one in Trofeo Pirelli AM honours. Smith brakes, And Tabacchi is right on the back of Nicola Shiro. Shiro now puts himself alongside Sam Smith. Racing room is given. Now he'll try and go underneath as they run downhill. And this is where Shiro might make this work. Through the kink, which is taken absolutely flat. The car's at 270 odd kilometers per hour. Brake now for the chicane. And, well, despite best efforts, still Sam Smith manages to hold them off and maintain that P6 position in the race overall. Blooming heck, we've only got less than 3 minutes of the race remaining. Now, for Jack Brown, of course, the more they all fight ahead, it's playing into his hands. And he will try and wrestle that Emanuele Maria Tabacchi lead away. So under braking once again, Jack Brown gets closer to the number 33 car now. Nicola Shiro then, Sam Smith having to defend by putting the car right in the middle, but that of course always makes him a little bit vulnerable. Shiro once again takes a look to the outside. Now he dives to the inside. And to be fair, there was a gap. And it was quite forceful and quite physical. And Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is going to have a go as well now because Sam has lost a little bit of momentum. They touch. And Tabacchi does come through, or does he? Because Smith will have the inside line now. So after lap after lap after lap of trying, Nicola Shiro spotted half an opportunity and went for it. And now Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is under threat from Jack Brown. So Jack Brown has got the inside line here. Going around this turn, they're going to climb uphill now. Jack Brown squeezes. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is forced out onto the gravel, and that means that Jack Brown retakes the lead in Trofeo Pirelli Am. Well, it has been extraordinary, this fight between the four drivers for lap after lap after lap. Here comes Tabacchi coming back. Racing room left by Jack Brown. Jack squeezed out once again onto the grass. 6 of one, kind of half a dozen of the other at the moment between the two of them. But now Nicola Shiro has got past Sam Smith. He's escaped up the road. So the real fight is going to be for Trofeo Pirelli Am honours, with under a minute remaining. So as they start their final lap, because of course the race leader Louis Pret has already crossed the timing line to begin the final lap. It's now or never for Jack Brown and Emanuele Maria Tabacchi in terms of the honours for Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. What a race. There is Martin Nelson, who's got the final podium place at the moment for Trofeo Pirelli Am, but I think he's sufficiently ahead of Christian Overgaard that barring any disaster for him, that should stay that way. What we're interested in is the fight that's going on between Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and Jack Brown, as John Dillon there with Oliver Plasman for company behind him. And John Dillon with the Matthews Vibo car ahead of him. So the Jack Brown fight with Emanuele Maria Tabacchi that we were watching. So here comes, and we've got to cover this, of course, because Louis Pret is leading the race and has done by some measure. There is Björn Grossman. The gap has come down between P1 and P2, it has to be said, because Björn Grossman in the later stages of the race has been lapping quicker, but Louis Pret, to be fair, had got a huge comfort margin. Björn Grossman really closing under braking now, but it's too little too late, I'm afraid to say, because Louis Pret has just one more corner to do, and he will turn what we thought was going to be a disastrous weekend into a profitable one for him, because he will see the checkered flag and he will take the win. All credit to Louis Pret and the team for giving him the spare car that he's been able to take to victory here at the Nürburgring in race number 2. Björn Grossman takes P2 ahead of Adam Carroll, who's P3. Then it will be Lennart Marinek and Thomas Neubauer. Then it should be Nicola Shiro and Sam Smith to complete the Trofeo Pirelli Pro honours. Sure enough, here comes Nicola Shiro. And then it is Sam Smith, and it's Emanuele Maria Tabacchi ahead of Jack Brown in the end. for Trofeo Pirelli AM honours. Wow, what a race that was. Well, both the Jack Brown and Emanuele Maria Tabacchi car will be slightly battle-scarred. And this was John Dillon, and oh, that was a very daredevil move there from the number 9 car of Oliver Plasman, which didn't pay off. And a good avoidance, to be fair, from John Dillon to prevent a collision. So Louis Pret then, having had that awful off in quali yesterday, well, concludes his weekend with a race win, and a very dominant race win, it has to be said. He was blisteringly quick during quali and did a fantastic job in the race, converted that P1 position into the race lead, and in truth, really never looked threatened, if we're honest with you. So Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then the winner in the Trofeo Pirelli AM class after a race-long battle almost with Jack Brown, which was really, really exciting to watch. There is Christian Overgaard in the number 45 car, who takes P4 in Trofeo Pirelli AM. And the cars making their way back to the pit lane. And the Trofeo Pirelli racing for the weekend done and dusted. On board with John Dillon then, who finishes P6 in class. And the paddock unfolding there, and confirmation of the top 3 in each class: Louis Pret, Björn Grossman, Adam Carroll for Trofeo Pirelli Pro. And then for the AMs, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi ahead of Jack Brown and Martin Nelson. Cars into Parc Fermé then. Steady on with the clapping of the back, because Louis still suffering from bruising after the crash. There is Björn Grossman at last. They can take something perhaps out of the weekend. The Octane 126 team really have had torrid luck. Perhaps it's all turned around now. And then the Trofeo Pirelli AM cars coming into Parc Fermé as well. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then. Well, so much going on in that race. Let's take a look at the highlights. So preparations then, and the lights went green, and when they did, the race was on. 30 minutes of race action to come from the Ferrari Challenge. Björn Grossman trying his luck around the outside of Louis Pret going into turn number 1. Sam Smith with a big dive down the inside into that turn number 1, but Louis Pret was able to convert that P1 position into the race lead and really never looked threatened. However, the big fight was going on behind, and well, Björn Grossman's partner could hardly bear to watch. Nicola Shiro and Sam Smith tried every which way but loose to convert their positions, but in the end it wasn't happening. At that point, nonetheless, a race-long battle ensued, and Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and Jack Brown getting very physical and very together, and in the end Emanuele Maria Tabacchi was able to put himself ahead, but not before the race-long battle continued all the way really through until the checkered flag. Martin Nelson put himself ahead of Christian Overgaard to give himself a podium finish for race number 2. Small mistake from Sam Smith, just played into the hands of Nicola Shiro, or did it, because he had to shortcut the chicane. And that meant that Sam Smith had got a little bit more momentum, but it took this really physical move by Nicola Shiro to get past Sam Smith. And once he'd done that, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi fancied having a go as well, and despite the mirrors being turned around on both cars, Smith was able to stay ahead of Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, who also had Jack Brown, of course, to try and take that lead back away from him. But in the end, it would be Louis Pret that would take the win for Trofeo Pirelli Pro, and Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, by tiny margin, was able to take P1 ahead of Jack Brown in the end. Super racing from Ferrari Challenge. That's a great image, isn't it? So the drivers will be heading off up to the podium shortly. And we will see two podiums, one for Trofeo Pirelli Pro and, of course, one for Trofeo Pirelli Am. So as the heli shot reveals the Race 2 classification, Louis Pret taking the win from Björn Grossman and Adam Carroll, with Lennart Marionek, Thomas Neubauer, Nicolo Schiro and Sam Smith completing the top 7. All our focus, of course, is on the podium to come. All the information with regards to Ferrari Challenge, do check out races.ferrari.com. Super slow-mo of the top 3 then. Here comes third place driver, number 47, Adam Carroll for Ferrari Budapest. P2 for Octane 126, it's Björn Grossman. And another very good drive from the driver of car number 17, Louis Pret for Formula Racing, who takes the race win. Louis' second race win this season, to be fair. In the Drivers' Championship, Louis Pret on 123 points, Nicolo Schiro on 103, Sam Smith on 97. And still races to come at Imola, and of course in Mugello as well, so it's far from settled yet. So here is the podium. There's Adam Carroll. There is Björn Grossman making his way to step number 2. And on the top step, it's going to be Louis Pret. Here he comes then. And Formula Racing represented by Mr. Alan Jurgensen, Team Boss, and National Anthem to play out. So with the anthem playing out, it's time for trophy presentations, and here is Pascal Wehrlein, if I am not mistaken, to make the trophy presentation. First of all to Adam Carroll, Scuderia Ferrari test driver. Pascal Wehrlein here, who was part of the F1 show earlier on today, makes the trophy presentation to Björn Grossman, fellow German look. And now to our race winner, Louis Pret. Pascal himself has been the recipient of many trophies in his superb racing career, and now shoe upon other foot as he becomes a trophy presenter. Pirelli Trophy presented by Gianfranco Vaccari to Louis Pret, and Formula Racing already in receipt of theirs. So hold your trophies, gentlemen, and let's get the photos done and dusted, then we can get on to the champagne. Now time for the champagne. Louis Brett the quickest with that. Bjorn Grossman making sure that Alan Jurgensen from Formula Racing gets a neck full of it as well. So what you don't see behind the scenes now is Hairy Mary, the mop lady, has to come out and mop up the podium so that we can get on with the AM podium as well. So drivers make their way off the podium, and as I say, the podium is readied now for the Trofeo Pirelli AM podium, where we will see Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, Jack Brown and Martin Nelson. As you can see, they're the top three, ahead of Christian Overgaard, Mathieu Weibo, John Dillon, Oliver Plasman, Frank Rumi and Walter Ben Dorenberg, who occupy the top 9 places in the classification for Trofeo Pirelli AM. Top 3 in Super Slow-Mo then for Scuderia Autoropa. Here's Martin Nelson. For P2, it was the driver of car number 90 for Great Paul Nottingham, Jack Brown. And taking the win, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi in car number 33 for Rosso Corsa. So podium about to get underway here. Before we see that, the Drivers' Championship, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi on 146 points, Jack Brown on 130. So there's a real ding-dong battle going on between those two. Then it's Martin Nelson just heading Christian Overgaard by 3 points for P3 and P4. So Martin Nelson on step 3, Jack Brown on step 2, and here comes Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Great to see a handshake between the two of them after a fierce fight between the two of them for that P1. Great race to enjoy. Pascal once again called upon to do trophy presentations to Martin Nelson. P3 for P2, Jack Brown. And taking the win on the top step of the podium, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Great celebrations going on there. And once again, Gianfranco Vicari making the Pirelli presentation. And all the drivers and indeed team representative up onto the top step of the podium. And photographs. And then, of course, it will be time for the champagne. Martin Nelson's got the hit on everyone there. What a fantastic Trofeo Pirelli race. Please make sure you join us for the Copa Shell race, which comes up a little later this afternoon in the next round at Imola. But as we enjoy the champagne, thanks so much for watching, and bye-bye for now.